Hello and welcome to the JAT Channel exclusive show, Clone Wars Conversations. I'm your host, kind of, James Arnold Taylor, because today we conclude my interview as the interviewee with writer, blogger, and host Amy Ratcliffe, turning the conversation tables on me to find out more about the characters I was fortunate enough to play on Clone Wars, from Obi-Wan to Platoon and many more. I had such fun being the one answering the questions here this time, and I hope you've enjoyed it too. So let's get back to it and see if, in the end, there's any last words from my alter egos. Welcome to the conversation.
Obi-Wan is obviously what you're most well known for because you're Obi-Wan. But you, Plo-Koon.
Jedi Master Platoon, yes.
Reiko Hardeen.
Reiko Hardeen, yeah. I killed Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, that guy was, funny story about Reiko Hardeen. So we came in to do it. I was having massive allergies that day. My voice was just shot.
Oh.
So Obi-Wan sounded like this.
So we went in and
just
completely
kind of a bit of a
re-recorded.
bug.
Yeah, but Hardeen, I had this wonderful deep voice because of the allergies.
And so I had this
Kind of natural. And I believe Matt and David, the sound designers, did pitch my voice down a little too. If you listen, you can tell it's pitched down a little, just like Plo Koon. But Carrie Silver, the producer, and Dave Filoni, they said, George was saying he doesn't want James to play Hardeen because he wants it to be so different. We don't want it to be the same actor. But they went, but we know you can do it. And I was so thankful to them for doing that. So they had me do Hardeen, and they didn't tell George. And then they played it and said, what do you think of Hardeen? Oh yeah, that's good. Who's that? That's James.
Like, see, range.
Yeah. But I think in his mind, he was thinking, well, of course you don't
want to tip the
primary
hat,
characters. Right. You don't want to hear any of Obi-Wan's voice in Hardeen. And thankfully, I don't think you do.
No. And it was a multi-episode arc, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Did you record all of his lines at once then with your allergy?
No.
your
No, we went back
voice?
and did it, and I just, I would work my voice out and get it to a point where I could get it back down to that space. But yeah, we did a lot of them. And that episode was one of those ones where I walked in that day and got the script and I went,
This is what,
first off, Obi-Wan's shot. Obi-Wan's dead. Obi-Wan's bald. Obi-Wan has no beard.
That's a lot to digest in a few minutes.
And then I've got all these bits of dialogue as Reiko Hardeen. And am I playing Hardeen? Is that me, guys, too? Yeah, okay, good. And so when you hear those lines of dialogue, that's the first, second, or third time I ever read those lines.
That always boggles my mind when I hear about voice that you get at that, in that short a time period before you record.
Yeah, that was it. And Dee in there, we all had a lot of lines. It was like, okay, you never know. And a lot of fun. But Hardeen was a cool character to play. O.C. Sobek, I got to play O.C. Sobek, who was...
Right.
That was it. One day, Dave Filoni calls me up and says, what would Christopher Walken sound like as a bad guy?
What a random, maybe not in your line of work, I guess not, but what a random phone call.
So it was, take Chris Walken and do.
So I went into the booth at home and they sent me some dialogue, some sample lines of O.C. Sobek's. And they said, just read through it in various voices and various versions of Christopher Walken or not. So how do you...
just to get a take on how...
Move away, but like here's one that's him, sounds just like him. Here's one that talks the way Christopher Walken talks, but doesn't necessarily sound like him. Here's one that is, So what I ended up doing was kind of this combination of Al Pacino and Christopher Walken.
So you take a little hoo-ha, okay? And you take Chris Walken and you get O.C. Sobek. Your Jedi resolve will get you nowhere.
And it was just,
you would stretch words out and do that.
And that one was great because that episode was, so it was Obi-Wan talking to, you have such a wonderful voice, talking to, and I'll get you, Jedi. And then we would cut to Plo Koon. So I literally had...
that's a busy...
So it was Jedi Master Plo Koon talking to Obi-Wan Kenobi, talking to O.C. Sobek,
and it was line.
So you are talking to yourself in that situation.
Yes.
Is there like, are there a few beats, or are you reading it just, like how does that work? I guess the technical side of that.
We're all nerds, I mean, I'm not. That's not unique to me, and I don't mean it to sound like, oh, aren't I wonderful? I can do. It's just voice actors are a bit psychotic. We're schizophrenic. We hear it and we do it. Dee would do the same. Corey Burton would do Count Dooku, and then switch to Cad Bane, and then switch to Zero. And I mean, you talk about
yeah, that's quite a variety.
Zero the Hutt up there and doing that. No, come on. And then Count Dooku, which I can't even attempt Count Dooku, the deepness there, and into Cad Bane,
Yeah, that's
crazy. It's crazy. So you would just do it, and you don't really pause. You just read the lines. The way I would do it is I would circle Obi-Wan on my script. I would put squiggly lines on the sides of Plo Koon, and I would do a box for Hardeen or whoever else, or Osi Sobek.
Like whoever else you're voicing.
Yeah, and you always did other characters too in each show, and so it was fun doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would forget. I feel like I would forget I would make a key like that and be like, this is this character, and then I would completely forget. And
yeah. No, you just, I don't know. You just kind of do it. Plo Koon was great because, so Dave had always had this vision. It was his favorite character, which was an honor to get to do it then. And he wanted a very Gandalf sound. So he said,
that sounds very Dave Filoni.
He said, think Gandalf. That was really his direction. And so the first couple of episodes, Malevolence Rising and all of those were Plo Koon. And the funny story about that was, so I'm voicing Plo Koon,
and I'm doing this, kind of Ian McKellen type voice. Kotoya, little Ahsoka.
And so that would be him untreated. Then Matt Wood got in there,
pitched him down, put that kind of Coney kind of voice sound
through
his helmet,
and
this kind of chorus flangey kind of, he had a setting built in Pro Tools. It's a specific plugin.
This is the Plo Koon voice adjustment.
So we got it all set. And then we came back the next season, and I had watched the season of Plo Koon, and I hear it. And because I'm a mimic,
I would hear him down here. So Kotoya.
So I went,
Kotoya, little Ahsoka.
But when after Matt was done with it, it was
Kotoya, little Ahsoka.
So I went in to do Plo Koon,
and I'm doing him down
the deeper.
Here.
And so Matt goes, you're killing me. We had it all. So he had to then change it. So if you listen, it did change a little
to match what you had done with your voice naturally.
And then I tried to kind of not go down so low after he told me, so he could go back to the other settings. But some of those, like the last ones with in the first and second season with Plo Koon, with Ahsoka, man, I love those. There was that one guy, you can't take us all, Jedi.
Would you like to try and prove your theory?
And we're in that bar, and
yes.
Oh yeah, there's all this just, and that's. Yeah,
and their relationship, I think it's really neat that you got to play two characters to have different relationships with Ahsoka, still mentors.
Yeah.
But Plo Koon, I feel, was a little more of her, not a father figure so much, but different than Obi-Wan.
Well, certainly, yeah.
He found her. And
the story, and Dave Filoni would tell that story. I always wished, I think if we could have got to like season 9 or something, they would have done a telling of that. It's to hear Dave Filoni tell that story and to show drawings of it, and he would do little sketches as he's telling you the story. It's an amazing story. I hope they would do it someday. And I would hope, Dave, if you're watching, or Tracy, or anybody at Lucasfilm, you would consider me doing Plo on that. It would be an honor to get to come back and voice Plo Koon.
Well, and I think especially given the way that Ahsoka has become so beloved, that we've had a few more stories of hers in a novel now, and hopefully yet to come. So
yeah, it would be,
fingers crossed.
It would be great. It would be, because it's a beautiful story, and animation would be the right way to tell it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know they're talking about live action, and Rosario Dawson is.
Oh, she said she'd be up for it, but I'm like, I can't. I don't know. I'm just so used to seeing Ahsoka and those characters I know. I'm like, I don't know. Animation's where it's at.
It's pretty great. Yeah.
Now I wondered, you said with Plo Koon you didn't like wear a mask or anything because they changed it. But when you were like, for example, in the episode where you're talking as 3 different characters, how do you physically, because like I imagine you talking to Osi Sobek, like your hands, like he just seems like a...
Yeah, I think there's even some footage somewhere of that. They might have done one that day. Well, they were always rolling cameras, but I think they've released some of it that day they were shooting. And so it would be like, so it's a lot of, because they were rolling cameras, a lot of what you see the characters do are things we actually did. So if you see Obi-Wan Kenobi doing this,
well, you know, Anakin, and stroking the beard. It's because I would do that. And I would stand like this all the time when I was saying the lines.
So they would
I'll
pick
watch
up on the
my mic,
reference.
make sure you can hear it all. But yeah, they would get those references. I would stroke the beard I didn't have. But I knew
You're like, Obi-Wan has
I knew Obi-Wan
one.
has that. And Matt would stand, you know, hands on the hips and do these things. And you see that. Anakin's gestures are this. That's Matt's hand, you know.
That's cool.
Yeah, and Ashley, those big eyes and doing
Always
these things
wondering,
and just, yeah, and Catherine Tabor, very dignified and lovely, and just Anakin, you know, and Ventress, Nika Futterman, just brilliant. All of it, yeah. It's you see each of us in that. I think it is kind of fun how we all used to joke that we all could play our characters. Like,
Right, because they already are you.
if there was a live action ever,
Yeah.
we actually did look like the characters, kind of. You know, I mean, it's a push for me to look like this handsome devil, but no, with a beard and such, you know. But Matt looks like Anakin.
Well, yeah, and you have the mannerisms, the
Yeah.
things that we know.
We've all dressed up as them, you know, and that's fun. So yeah, even Nika with Ventress, she could play Ventress, you know. And,
Oh,
yeah,
I don't think I've met her in
Ah.
person, but no, just her voice work as Ventress.
she will be on Clone Wars Conversations coming soon, in the months to come. But yeah, she's a brilliant actress.
So I would like to talk about some of the episodes because Clone Wars, expanded the mythology of Star Wars. I mean, what, 6 seasons? It's a
Oh my
lot
gosh,
of,
yeah,
but especially things like the Mortis arc.
yeah.
It just changed
Change
what
the way
we know, right? Think about the Force, and what was it like, I guess, when you get, because you're getting those scripts the day of, and they're already kind of like, I have to watch that arc a few times because I'm like, what happens?
It's such a great question, Amy, because the thing is, I have to put myself in this position where I forget that we knew about this stuff like a year before anybody else. And we
Right.
signed these NDAs and you can't talk about it. But also, we didn't always know how a whole episode would flush out. Sometimes you would get just your lines.
Oh, so you didn't know what was happening if you weren't in the scene.
Yeah, like again, spoiler alert, end of Clone Wars, Ahsoka and all of that. There were scenes where they had us leave the room. And it was just Matt and Ashley.
Wow.
So with the Mortis stuff, we're going, what is this? This is where the Force is? This is, you know, we're all learning all this together. And it was just kind of a trip because we all were Star Wars fans. Yes, we're actors.
Right, but you're also like, what?
But we're fans of this and we followed it. We grew up with it. And then you get this information and then you kind of sit on it for a while.
You
And
can't talk about it.
what I thought was cool is that it would sit differently with different people. You know, like Kat Tabor was like, I don't know where I feel. I don't know how I feel about that with the Force, you know, and all this. Well, let's discuss it. And so we'd find ourselves getting into these discussions, you know, and it was just really interesting to play these characters and see these. The other fun thing was then Sam Witwer was introduced to us all.
Oh, right, because he was the son. Sure.
And playing, you know, no idea that Darth Maul was going to come back then or anything.
Right.
But that's another one.
Yeah,
Darth Maul comes
especially-
back and you're like, what? So there was always a new adventure. It really was always new and different. And, you know, it's that hindsight thing of you look back at things in your life and you go, oh, these were great times. But we had such a unique family on that show. And then we had such a unique opportunity as Star Wars fans to learn about this stuff before anybody else. And it's exactly what you said. It has set the precedent now, and it's all canon now. That's a weird thing, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And to be part of it. But I also kind of like hearing that, you know, as you were reading the scripts, you're like, what? Because that's what Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and Anakin were doing.
Yeah, they were experiencing
that,
it.
like,
Yeah. So it
huh?
really made it kind of cool. I mean, again, that's the beauty of being voice actors where we're trained to read cold and to not make it sound as though oh, I'm reading this for the first time. So that's what we do. But it worked actually in this because if we had read it and known all of it beforehand, it might affect it too much.
I agree, because you don't want to make it think, you know, make the characters like look like they're like, oh, we've heard about this Mortis thing. What old hat?
Right.
You mentioned Sam Witwer and Darth Maul, and I know, again, we've talked several times about how you get news, but I also know that Dave will share some things in advance if it's a key thing like Maul coming. Maybe I don't know if Maul ranked for that. What did you find out?
Gosh, no, we found out beforehand, absolutely. So the way it would work too, we've talked about it a lot on these conversations. Everybody mentions it.
from guest stars to regulars, their experience with Dave Filoni and an episode of Clone Wars. You would come in, we were talking about we were at LA Studios, and we'd all be in the lobby, and then they'd bring us back and we'd go back into the studio, and we're usually in Studio E, I believe, which is this big one in the back there, LA Studios. And Dave would then come in after we're all assembled and the mics are set up, and Cameron, our engineer, would check everybody's mics and get it all good. While all that was going on, Dave would come in and sit down in the center and tell us the story for the week. And
story time with Dave.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it was really fun because he would just fill us in. And for the guest stars who maybe know about Star Wars, maybe don't.
Right.
I know some people go, oh, how could you not know? It's like,
No, there are people, like everybody has their own thing.
Yeah. And they know Star Wars and they're interested in it, but maybe they didn't really know about Clone Wars much. Or, they weren't into the prequels. They knew the originals. And that generally would be the thing. So he would come in and just give you all the information and what the story was and how it fit into the greater scheme of, it was always about Palpatine and where this is going and the political aspects of all of this.
So you really got the context of the big picture of the galaxy instead of just the little...
Instead of just, today you're playing this droid and this is going to happen.
That has to be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly was for all of us, and it was fun for us. It just got fun for all the regulars because now we're just learning more. Where are we going? Because we didn't know where we were going with this show. George Lucas originally said he wanted to do 300 episodes of these. It's like, could you have imagined how wonderful that would have been? And had the sale and everything not happened,
maybe
we probably, I think we would have at least, so he said that originally, and then we knew we were going to go to at least season 8. That was kind of, because what started happening with Ahsoka and stuff, I think they knew where it was going to go. And
well, plus you have to get to Revenge of the Sith, and that's set.
Yeah. And I remember, gosh, probably back at season 2 or 3, sitting at the ranch, Big Rock, in the commissary with Dave and D. Bradley Baker, and Dave telling us his visions at the time for how it would end.
Wow.
And it's interesting to see some of those things in what they did in Rebels with Ahsoka.
Well, how they have played
Darth
out in
Vader and
different...
such. Yeah, it certainly has. I mean, it doesn't give anything away. That's not, and I only say that really to show the brilliance of what he had in his head and how wonderful it was to do that and to get to play that way.
Nice. And with Darth Maul, then, is that something in story time?
Story time, yeah.
He told you guys,
So
like,
we're
this
gonna bring
guy's...
Darth Maul coming
What's your
back.
reaction to that, especially as a fan as well?
You're like, but I cut him in half.
Remember? That was pretty dramatic.
Yeah, but then you think about it. And I think just like anybody, you role play it, and I literally see the scene of his body flailing down in my buddy Ray Park, and then I think, no, but it's Star Wars.
You're like, okay.
I think of Luke getting his new hand.
Sure.
I think of Vader having all this, and I think, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not a huge leap. I mean, at first you're just like, huh?
Yeah.
And
But if George says, and that was his plan, and that's how it was presented to Dave, is, well, when we bring Darth Maul back, wait, what, And then, oh, sure, this is what's going to happen. I think that's see, I am getting choked up a little too. It's such a wonderful thing that George Lucas had this playground of Clone Wars. To end his time making Star Wars was Clone Wars, that he got to tell all these stories with all these characters in a way that was acceptable and is canon and is now such a part of what we all know of Star Wars.
yeah, and that was meaningful for him to tell and stories he wanted to tell.
Yeah, and I think also it really shows the importance of his fingerprints on it. That's not a judgment on where it's at now, but, Star Wars is basically a religion for most people.
Absolutely.
That are into it. And again, not a judgment, it's just kind of a fact. And you have to give credence to the creator of this. And I always have. If George wants to bring Jar Jar in, if George wants to bring Darth Maul back, if George wants to do this, he's the storyteller.
Yeah,
he's the master
universe.
storyteller. Yeah,
absolutely.
Let him do it. And if you have bought into Star Wars, then you'll buy into that.
Exactly. And we all bought into Darth Maul's return and his obsession with Obi-Wan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know how you are, but to go back to the prequels, when I saw The Phantom Menace the first time, I went, oh, this guy. Darth Maul, wow,
right?
yeah, great. And then Obi-Wan kills him. And I go, oh.
And I'm like, oh, I wanted more of that.
And so we got more of him. in the ways that we wanted. And Savage Opress, Clancy Brown, what a brilliant
incredible.
character. And that was really kind of our way to get a little Darth Maul before Darth Maul.
Yes.
Really wonderful. And Clancy was such a character. So he was such a fan.
I was going to ask, like, what it was like to work with him.
Well, Clancy and I have known each other for years.
Right.
We've played in so many cartoons together. And he wanted to be on Clone Wars forever. He was jockeying to get on the Clone Wars. And he kept saying to Dee and I, boy, whenever you can get me on that show. Because his son was in love with it. His son, James, wonderful kid. And he was young and he was growing up with Clone Wars. So Clancy wanted to be on it. So Dave was like, okay, great. I love Clancy Brown. Yeah.
Like, why not?
So they had a couple characters for him. And then there was a mix-up in scheduling with agents and all of that, and it didn't happen. And then eventually they went, well, how about this character, Savage Opress? And that's what he ended up getting. And how blessed are all of us to get Clancy Brown as Savage Opress, because...
Yeah, he's Clancy Brown.
And he brought such wonderful depth and life and character to it. It's a really heartbreaking story.
Yeah, and that character could have easily, especially once he was manipulated, been such just kind of a brute monster.
Yeah.
And he brought a lot of life to him.
He sure did. And the torment when he's searching for his brother and all of that, it's great stuff. But I just had fun playing in it, getting to have be the actor that actually gets to say those lines to Darth Maul. Can't be. No. And I'm looking up there and I see him and I know it's him, but it can't be.
But it can't, right. I took care of that.
Yeah. So that's the wonderful thing about it. I will say the one thing that makes me sad, I would have loved to have finished that story, and I thought it would have made sense for the actor that played him in that to get to play him in the other, to finish that story with Darth Maul, but that didn't happen, and c'est la vie, but mainly because I'm passionate about it. Because it's just like this show. People go, well, why did he create this show? Clone Wars is over. You're just living in the past. No, it's actually because people love this show so much. And it's such a kind of a cult favorite. I thought, how can I help? This is my way of saying thanks to all of the fans of it, is putting this show together and let us tell some stories about it now.
Yeah, look back in time and, I want to ask Darth Maul, Mortis, Rhaegar Hardeen, there have been a lot of heavy hitting episodes for Obi-Wan, but looking back, what are some of can you pick out one that's especially memorable or special to you?
Well, absolutely. We talked about this with Anna Graves, but yeah, the Satine stuff in season 5 there, when that all happened, that just doesn't get heavier than that. But I had loved before that when people would say, well, what were your favorite ones? I would say the Duchess of Mandalore, all of these Mandalorian arcs there, because they were wonderful to give this texture of who this character is that we know so well. I mean, I'm the luckiest actor in the world to get to play Obi-Wan, this beloved character in one of the biggest franchise in the world.
Yes.
For 15 years or so.
It's been a while, yeah.
I got to play Obi-Wan, and I'm honored to do it, but I'm also just so touched to get to add texture and layers and depth. I've said this a lot, and I don't want people to take it like it's a bragging thing or a patting on the back. I'm saying it in that, can you believe this? I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
It's
I've got to voice
what?
more Obi-Wan than Ewan or Alec ever did, and I got to be this character longer than anybody else, and I'm thankful for that. I'm honored for that opportunity, and it's not like and I did this. It's that, and I got to do this.
Yeah, yes. Which is kind of a hard thing to communicate on social media sometimes, right? When you're talking about, I did this awesome thing, and it's not because I'm like, look at me. It's like, whoa, what is life?
Yeah, and I watch these shows. I know a lot of actors who, I don't watch what I do. I watched it because I wanted to see what was going to happen.
Right.
And I'd watch it and go, oh, that's cool. I'd remove myself from it. And I was happy for all my friends, Did you find Clone Wars right off the bat, or was it kind of, well, this is, because I know you were a Star Wars fan, but...
No, I did. And actually, I call Clone Wars my Star Wars, as in that's what pushed me over the edge into obsession, because I was a late bloomer to the films. I saw them when they were re-released.
That's right. I remember you told me that before.
Yeah, and I liked the prequels. I liked the films. I was on board. I'm like, yeah, Star Wars is great. But then when I saw the Clone Wars film and the animated series started, something about the combination of characters, the introduction of Ahsoka, the time period, I was like, oh, I need to give this whole universe a closer look and more of my time.
Ah.
And that's when it fell into, get a tattoo or a couple territory.
Oh, that's cool. What tattoos do you mind?
I have the X-Wing, and then I have the Rebel Alliance symbol here.
That's very cool.
So,
I was not a Trekkie. I totally love and appreciate Star Trek, but I wasn't a Trekkie. I was a Star Wars fan because I grew up with it, and everything. But I feel like Clone Wars is the Star Trek, the original Star Trek of Star Wars.
Oh, I can see that.
And I mean that with great respect.
Of
and all the Star Wars fans that aren't Trekkie fans will go, hey, James, you can't say it. It's like, no.
No, you can actually like both also. It's okay.
Absolutely. Because it told the stories, these kind of the weekly adventures of these characters. And it was a lot like Lost as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see that.
Because sometimes Obi-Wan and Anakin were nowhere to be found.
No, you followed Ahsoka for a while.
Yeah, or the droids.
Padme or droids.
Yeah, and I love those episodes.
Agreed, and that's something you get to explore different corners of the universe that we're not going to get a 4-part droid arc in a film. No, not at all. And it also brought characters like Jar Jar in and made you go, Jar Jar's all right. I would hope people. I see where he's coming from. Yeah, absolutely.
Because again, I'm an apologist. I'm a Jar Jar apologist, but I think he's great.
Same. Well, as we talked about earlier, I am Jar Jar in that I knock over everything, so I have nothing but sympathy.
Oh man, no, it's and then all these wonderful characters that never really had voice, like Bosk, D. Bradley Baker bringing a voice to him, and just wild adventures. So I think it was like that. Like everything we always kind of wanted Star Wars to be in that Star Trek kind of way of a weekly adventure.
Yeah, and they had a lot of room to play. And I liked, maybe not when I was watching it so much that I was ready for the next Obi-Wan, Anakin, Ahsoka adventure, but in rewatches, I really appreciate the political aspects.
Yeah, there is a lot
more
of that going on. And Palpatine and Ian Abercrombie was such a brilliant actor and man. And so lovely, and it was so hard when he passed, and we then recast Tim Curry, who was brilliant. I don't know if I've shared this story. So I'm in doing some pickup lines as Obi-Wan. I'm in the studio, and it's just me. And it might have been the Reiko Hardin ones I was picking up.
Oh.
Actually, the Obi-Wan, that's what it was. Wow, okay, so because my voice was shot, they had me come in and do just my Obi-Wan lines from the first Reiko Hardin episode. How was my funeral and all of that, And I'm there and I look in and it's Dave and, and Carrie and Cameron, our engineer, and sitting on the couch in the studio is Tim Curry waiting to go in. Of course,
just like you do, like he does.
I go in afterwards and I said, sir, I'm such a fan of your work. And he stands up, shakes my hand, and looks at me, I'm a fan of yours. I went, oh, come on. And he was being sincere, that he was like, he appreciated the show. He loved what we were all doing. It was really...
That's kind.
What a brilliant guy. And he brought a whole other aspect to the Emperor and Palpatine that Ian hadn't touched on. It was all different, but it was all wonderful. And, now you got Sam playing him in Rebels and such.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's all these various... And then, Ian McDiarmid, who's a dear friend and wonderful actor. It's amazing, all these various voices in these same characters.
And I guess funny you mentioned Ian McDiarmid. That was an interview I saw. I went to Star Wars weekends. I kind of almost missed the boat. I went to the last one.
Oh, yeah.
And Ian McDiarmid weekend.
Oh, it was such a great time. We had such fun. Yeah, that's right. I remember you were there. Yeah. He always had fun with me. And they asked him, this is again, not to toot my own horn, but they asked him to come, and he says, well, what, tell me about it. And they said, and James is hosting. He said, oh, James, oh, good.
Yes. Like, I'm in good hands.
Okay, I know I'm in good, but because we had fun. We always had a good time, and he knew that he could be shown in the right light. And we had so many wonderful guests, Frank Oz, and that's where I met Frank Oz, and, have just become friends with him now, and what an honor to work with. Star Wars has allowed me the ability to work with some wonderful people that I never would have dreamed of.
Well, and thinking about Clone Wars, we mentioned Tim Curry and Clancy Brown, and in addition to the regulars, there were quite a few
Brian George,
drop-ins.
And who was, so many different characters. Kiari Mundi, yeah. And Brian was great on Seinfeld. He was Babu Botts. Babu,
Oh,
no Babu, you're a very bad man, Jerry Seinfeld. But he played so many characters, recurring characters. We had all these wonderful actors that would come back and play. Phil Lamar, Phil was a regular, but also always changing. And then
basing on, I'm thinking Bill Organa.
Jimmy Smits, yeah.
I'm like that. I'm like, oh no, that actually is his name. Bill
Yeah,
Organa.
and he played so many wonderful characters. And we had so many great guest stars that would come in on a regular basis and do these voices and get to play. But we had Michael York, wonderful Michael York.
Right.
We had Simon Pegg, Liam
Oh,
Neeson.
Dengar, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Liam Neeson.
Yeah, everybody always asks, how was it working with Liam Neeson? I go, I have no idea.
Yeah, like
he was in New York and I was here. And
he had a few lines. He probably didn't come all the way to Burbank. Well, sometimes people do if they're in town, right?
Yeah, but the cool thing is that I get to say that I have, episodes of scenes with me and Liam Neeson together, and as Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon.
It's pretty neat. And hasn't happened again, right?
Yeah, only because of Clone Wars, that affords that ability to do that. That's pretty darn cool. So I am just, really what I would say is thank you to the fans, thank you to Lucasfilm, thank you to everybody that allowed me to play in this world for so long. And that's why I created this show, is to say thanks and to just have fun with it.
Yeah, get fans. It's nice. I mean, from the fan perspective, which I cannot deny being,
yeah,
it's fun to it's kind of revisit. And I feel like I get to spend time with my friends that I watched on Clone Wars and rewatched more than a few times. Thank you, Netflix.
Yeah. Oh, and I hope it all stays on Netflix. Everybody watch it on Netflix as much as you can. That way it will stay there, right? Oh, let's hope. So, yeah. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time with me, though, and doing this.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of fun.
This was a good time.
Good times, and hopefully more Star Wars memories to come.
Many more.
Many more. So, Amy, I am going to jump into the host seat for a moment. Where can everybody read, find, hear, take in more of your stuff?
For my stuff, well, I talk a lot about Star Wars, surprisingly, or write about it, I should say, for Nerdist.com and StarWars.com and Star Wars Insider magazine.
Oh, I love Star Wars Insider.
I do too. It gives me an opportunity to kind of do the deep dive stuff that maybe more newsy websites aren't into.
Yeah.
So I get to talk VFX. I had this cool conversation with a VFX guy who worked at ILM on Rogue One.
Yeah.
So that's always fun. And I, of course, spend time on social media like many of us do on Twitter and Instagram under Amy_geek.
Okay. People do it. Oh, yeah. And we should do, now I'll con you into doing a piece for Star Wars Insider about Clone Wars conversations.
That's a great idea. I'm like, oh, this is all come together. It's like you planned this.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with me.
Thanks for having me.
We'll do it again sometime here, huh?
Yes.
All right. Okay, that concludes the interview portion of this Clone Wars Conversations. My thanks to Amy Ratcliffe for doing a super job and having a blast talking Clone Wars with her. Now it's time to have fun in another way. As you know, I usually close the show with some voices and us doing readings from our favorite characters. Well, since it's just me, I'm going to give you readings from some of my more famous characters. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Plo Koon, Reiko Hardeen, and Osi Sobek, all together in one scene from my favorite movie of all time, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Enjoy.
Yes, Dr. Jones, we've heard a great deal about you.
Have you?
A professor of archaeology, expert on the occult, Jedi, and, how does one say it? Obtainer of rare antiquities.
That's one way of saying it. You have a lovely voice. Why don't you sit down? You'll be more comfortable.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. You're a man of many talents. Ever think of doing bounty work?
Now, you studied under Professor Ravenwood at the University of Chicago.
Yes, for a time, and then training with Master Yoda at the Jedi Temple, but yes, I did.
You have no idea of his present whereabouts?
Well, just rumors, really. Somewhere in Asia, I believe. I haven't really spoken to him for 10 years. We were friends, but had a bit of a falling out, I'm afraid. tend to have that problem with some of these people. He was my brother. Sorry, do continue.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Dr. Jones, you must understand that this is all strictly confidential, eh?
I understand. Like when you and I fooled Anakin.
Yes. Yesterday afternoon, our European sections intercepted a German communique that was sent from Cairo to Berlin. Now,
You see, over the last 2 years, the Nazis have had a team of archaeologists running around the world looking for all kinds of religious artifacts. Hitler's a nut on the subject. He's crazy, you know. He's obsessed with the occult. And right now, apparently, there's some kind of German archaeological dig going on in the desert outside of Cairo.
Now, we've got some information here, but we can't make anything out of it, and maybe you can. Tanis development proceeding. Acquire headpiece. Staff of Ra. Abner Ravenwood, U.S.
The Nazis have discovered Tanis.
Just what does that mean to you, Tanis?
Well, it's
Well, the city of Tanis is one of the possible resting places of the Lost Ark.
a lost ark.
Yes, the Ark of the Covenant, the chest the Hebrews used to carry around the Ten Commandments.
Whoa! What do you mean, commandments? You're talking about the 10 Commandments.
Yes, the actual 10 Commandments. Don't believe I stuttered, did I? It was the original stone tablets that Moses brought down out of Mount Horeb and smashed, if you believe in that sort of thing. I know it's a stretch, but either of you ever go to Sunday school?
Well,
Look, the Hebrews took the broken pieces and put them in the Ark. When they settled in Canaan, they put the Ark in a place called the Temple of Solomon.
in Jerusalem.
Yes, where it stayed for many years until all of a sudden, whoosh, it's gone, like Anakin on some secret mission whenever Padme Amidala comes around. It's curious, isn't it?
Where?
Well, nobody knows where or when. Oh, you were talking about the Ark. Yeah, nobody knows that either.
However, an Egyptian pharaoh,
Shishak.
yes, invaded the city of Jerusalem right about 980 BC, and he may have taken the ark back to the city of Tanis and hid it in a secret chamber called the Well of Souls.
Secret chamber.
However, about a year after the pharaoh would return to Egypt, the city of Tanis was consumed by the desert in a sandstorm which lasted a whole year, wiped clean by the wrath of God.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously we've come to the right men. Now, you seem to know all about this, Tanis, then.
No, not really. Ravenwood is the real expert. Abner did the first serious work on Tanis, collected some of its relics. It was his obsession, really. But he never found the city.
Frankly, we're somewhat suspicious of Mr. Ravenwood, an American being mentioned so prominently in a secret Nazi cable.
Oh, rubbish. Ravenwood's no Nazi. Well, then what did the Nazis want him for?
Well, obviously, the Nazis are looking for the headpiece of the Staff of Ra, and they think Abner's got it.
What exactly is a headpiece to the Staff of Ra?
Well, the staff is just a stick, I don't know, about this big, about height of Ahsoka, perhaps. Yes, nobody really knows for sure how high, just like nobody knows where Ahsoka's gone to. Anyways, it's capped with an elaborate headpiece in the shape of the sun, with a crystal in the center. And what you did was you take the staff to a special room in Tanis, a map room with the miniature of the city all laid out on the floor. And if you put the staff in a certain place at a certain time of day, the sun shone through here, made a beam that came down on the floor here, and gave you the exact location of the Well of Souls. And I really could have used that when searching for Camino.
Where the Ark of the Covenant was kept, right?
Which is exactly what the Nazis are looking for.
Now, what does this ark look like?
Oh, well, there's a picture of it right here. Yes, that's it.
Good God. Yes, that's just what the Hebrews thought. Now what's that supposed to be coming out of there?
Lightning, fire, the Force, power of God or something.
I'm beginning to understand Hitler's interest in this. We could use it at the Citadel.
Oh, yes. The Bible speaks of the Ark leveling mountains and laying waste to entire regions. An army which carries the Ark before it is invincible.
Yes, don't tell the Emperor. I have a bad feeling about this.
Well, I thought that was a fun way to end this season of Clone Wars Conversations. And I hope you've enjoyed this season, 14 episodes strong, and I had some great times interviewing some amazing voice actors. Of course, there are many more voice actors that work in Clone Wars that have not yet been on the show, from Ashley Eckstein and Dee Bradley Baker to Corey Burton and so many, many more, Nika Futterman. So what's next for Clone Wars Conversations? Well, hopefully a season 2, but what I really need from you is to spread the word. Subscribe to the JAT channel and let people know what a cool thing you have here. If you have anybody that is a Clone Wars fan, direct them here to the JAT channel, to Clone Wars Conversations. Have them hit the subscribe button and watch the shows. I need to increase my viewership. I need to increase my subscription rate so I can really keep providing this kind of entertainment for you on a regular basis. Or if there's a channel that you think Clone Wars Conversations should be on, let them know. And if they have a wider audience, like a Nerdist or a Collider or someplace like that, a StarWars.com, let those folks know that you want Clone Wars Conversations on their channel. And just maybe we'll be able to do that for you. All right, well, I thank you so much for watching Clone Wars Conversations Season 1. My thanks also to Mountain Valley Water, the official water of the JAT channel and Clone Wars Conversations. Also, thanks to Chloe Babbis, Matt Rowbottom, and Andrew Heberlin for providing fantastic support for me during these episodes of Clone Wars Conversations, helping out with cameras and lights and sound. You know, most of the time it is a one-man show here, and they always were able to stick around and give me a hand, and I'm so appreciative of them, as well as Joe Hogan and his amazing art that he put together on every episode. If you want to see more of Joe's art, you know, of course, check him out on Twitter and Instagram, and just support art in any way you can. Okay, by watching things like this, by buying art, by finding art online and supporting artists wherever you can, because that's really what it's all about. And that's what this show is all about, is spreading the art of voiceover. I'm so glad that you could join me for this season of Clone Wars Conversations, and I hope again to bring you another in the near future. And of course, may the Force be with you always.